Welcome back, Spiralers, to the Spiraling Higher Studio. I'm Sam, and I'm here with my co-host,
Gina.
Who else? And today, Gina mentioned that I'm wearing my Cruella de Vil jacket. I feel like I have 101 Dalmatians in this coat.
Or that you're a mob wife.
Or that I'm in the Matrix. But
Yes,
it's so cold
Matrix
now.
vibes. I feel like I look like the Cookie Monster. I keep on wanting to
No.
say Oscar the Grouch, but I'm like, no, he's green. But we're both
I see what
playing
you mean.
characters today.
I see what you mean. It's
right?
a little bit more periwinkle than the Cookie Monster blue.
But it is like Muppet-esque.
Muppet-esque. Well, all of Gina's clothing is very cozy vibes.
Yes. It's
Like
very
you always
soft.
wear that teddy bear jacket.
I love basically pretending
And it's
I'm a
surprising.
plushie.
Surprising you're not wearing something oversized. 'Cause normally,
That's true. We traded.
yeah, we traded. So anyway, it's Cruella de Vil here today, here with Gina. And one of the things I feel like we have forgotten to talk about is the Spiraling Higher Retreat.
Oh my gosh. It was I mean, I feel like words just there's not enough words.
There's not.
There really isn't. I think the most special thing about it was how nobody knew each other.
I know.
But the connections that happened so quickly, you know, it's like the thing about you and me, like time has nothing on like true alignment and connection.
It's true.
And sometimes when you just meet the right people at the right time, it just, I don't know, time is just not, it's non-existent in those moments. And we all connected in so many beautiful different ways. And it felt like, honestly, it was longer.
Yeah, because we were so present.
Yeah, we just did so much, not like producing so much, but we were just present for so many conversations and transformations. And it was so fun. We were in the middle of the jungle.
We were in the middle of the jungle in Tulum. So we hosted 10 ladies for the Spiraling Higher Retreat. And I'm amazed still at the way in which we've been able to manifest everything that we have desired. I mean, obviously we teach that, but it still blows my mind when I experience reality in that way. And one of the intentions we had when we started this podcast was to create in-person community and to take these conversations online and to essentially foster really strong bonds. And one of the things I think Gina and I are truly excellent at, I'm owning this, is we know how to create safe spaces.
Yes.
And I think that's why it takes no time to create a tight bond, because it's safety that makes you feel connected. We can't feel safely or deeply known by someone we don't feel safe to be ourselves around or to feel our feelings around.
And to be vulnerable.
To be vulnerable. And so right out the gate, it seems like as soon as people started landing off the plane and getting to the resort, their bodies were like, oh, like it's okay and safe for me to feel whatever I'm feeling. And I remember like the very first group that came, it was like 3 people. They all came in separate taxis. But it was Nancy. Yeah. And if you're listening to this, oh, I'm so glad I got to meet you and I'm so glad you were there. But she just was like, I think I feel like crying. And she just started crying because it just felt like my body was safe now to be seen like this. And one of the things that she worked through was that she'd experienced so much judgment from caretakers, and then that turned into self-judgment of her own emotions. And so just holding it all in. I mean, I think all of us are holding it all in to some degree.
Yeah.
And in this space, there was none of that. Like no one felt held back, no one felt restricted, and everyone I know left feeling a lot freer and a lot lighter.
Yeah, I was just going to say the word lighter. I think the tag on to that I think also what we do really well is we really do attract the most aligned people.
Yeah.
And there were just so many signs of synchronicities throughout the entire experience. But I think just the combination of energies and the people that came it would just felt so right in so many ways. And yeah, I feel like everybody came in with their intention, which we set before we came. We had like a little Zoom meeting for everyone to meet before. And I mean, they really all met those intentions. And
yeah. Okay, one of the synchronicities that I have to mention before we move on from this was that during that Zoom call where we all met, I had everyone select a word that they wanted to embody for the weekend.
Yeah.
And these words were purely unique to each person. I did not inspire any of these, but we heard words like connection, play, healing, love. I mean, flow, even.
Yes.
These were words that they selectively chose on their own. And then I cannot make this up. At this resort, I had no idea, but the side that they were all housed on, the rooms had names above them. They
Like
were
a
like
word.
these, yeah,
Yeah.
there were like these like wooden blocks, like painted words on them. And I think half the group, minimum, at a minimum, half the group walked up to their door and was like, what the fuck? That's my word.
That's the word I picked.
And they were like, did you do this? Like, did you
Yeah.
pick the rooms? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
The like resort gods did this for you. I did not choose.
I know Linda like freaked out because the person that was guiding us to her room took us to the wrong room. And so she was like,
Right.
oh, cool. And then we tried the thing. They're like, oh, sorry, it's actually a different room. And we go to that room, and that was her word.
Yeah.
And she was
Her
like,
word
did
was
you?
healing.
Yeah, she's like, did you pick this? And I said, I swear to God, I had nothing to do with this. Our room name was Light,
Yeah.
which I thought was so special.
And you said that, or I said, but you also like seconded that everyone felt lighter.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. And then, do you remember when, okay, so Nancy's word was flow.
Mhm.
And we were in the restaurant and there was a dog on a leash.
Yes.
Yeah. And the owner said, let's go, Flo.
Oh my gosh.
And we were like, we just like gaped open our mouths. And we were like, sorry, is your dog's name Flo? And he was like, yeah. And we were like, that's a sign.
That's a sign. Yeah.
So this is just a couple of the numerous synchronicities we experienced. But my favorite thing about this was that I ended up asking the group at one point, like, what does this make you now believe, or what does this sort of stabilize within you? Given that all these synchronicities are happening, not just to you, but to everyone here, like, what does this make you think and believe in a different way now? And they were like, well, I'm like realizing that it's not just this place, like it's just us and our openness and receptivity. Like that's why we're noticing all of these things, but actually we're always open and available to receiving these signs. We just don't look.
Yeah.
And that was really something.
It was really something. I this is just a funny little story, but when the first group came, they were dealing with, figuring out the stuff with the driver, but they were parked and we thought it was them, but they weren't getting out of the car.
windows were tinted.
The windows were tinted. So we're like jumping up and down and the door doesn't open. So we were like, is that them?
Yeah.
But then they were inside being like, oh my God, it's them. But we couldn't see each other. It was so funny. So when we finally opened the door, it was just like this sweet
reunion.
Sweet reunion. It was so fun. There were just so many fun, playful moments. There were so many deep connection moments, transformational moments. I mean, people got to do the Temescal,
Yes.
the cacao ceremony we did together.
We jumped into the cenotes.
Oh my gosh. And when we were doing the cacao ceremony, I've never done one before, but I mean, the ceremony is so beautiful in so many different ways, but we're all lying down and kind of meditating. And I got this visual of this bird/fish, which I coined as Bish. And what was so wild is one of the other women were like,
more than one.
Oh, was it more than one?
Yeah.
So
it was at least
of them
2 or 3 of them.
also saw a Bish.
No, it was crazy because you mentioned that to me and then you went and talked with someone else after the ceremony. And then I went to dinner with the rest of the girls and I was like, what did you see in your vision? And I think it was Maris. She was like, I saw a bird that kind of became like a fish. And I was like, Gina also saw a Bish. It was wild, dude. Like the things that we saw, the messages we received, again, all of it was confirmation that what we are experiencing within ourselves is true and divine and aligned for us. But sometimes we just need those reminders. And so,
and it's fun to notice and to share those moments with
Yeah.
each other because actually there was wild foxes roaming around.
yeah, we saw one.
It looked at Sam and then I came over and it looked at both of us. And then somebody saw a snake, which thank God. That was
Thank
not
God
me.
it wasn't you. But what was crazy was in the cacao ceremony, she was like, today is like El Dia del Serpiente. And we were like, did she just say snake in Spanish? Like, we were like freaking out. Me and Anna, I remember, looked at each other and we were like, oh.
And then remember, she picked up that box from the store. She bought something.
I know. And there was a snake painted on it.
And it was like the only one that had a snake on it or something like
Literally.
that. So it was just, I mean, so many things. And so
You really had to be there.
You had to be there. And all that to say, we actually are already planning our next one. That is going to be in April of 2025. So if you want in on that, we'll have a link in the show notes for getting on the wait list.
Retreat waitlist link will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
But this is not an episode about our retreats because we
No.
could talk about that forever.
Yes.
It was truly the best experience. I think it was my favorite thing I did all year.
Oh, beautiful. It's a
Well,
beautiful
we
way
did
to-
another one previously.
at the beginning of the
Yeah.
year. We kind of bookended
Yeah.
in Feb and then November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're biannual at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a Spiraling High retreat. Thanks for
Yeah.
tuning in to that experience, our recap.
Yeah.
But it's December, and what we wanted to actually chat about today was how this month, depending on your relationship to yourself, will feel either really juicy, really filled with presence and joy and connection,
Mm-hmm.
or you might feel a lot of fear, a lot of panic, a lot of pressure. Yeah, I knew
Mm-hmm.
you were going to sense that I was going to say that, because I feel that for me, before last year, I didn't hate December because I feel like it was a contrastive month. There were obviously moments of joy and celebration. It's a time of connection and family. But if I really was truthful, I would have to say that December for me always felt extremely pressurized and so stressful because I was constantly judging what I had done for the previous parts of the year. I was judging whether or not that had been enough, and ultimately setting myself up for a lot of really high standards and expectations for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And like I couldn't stay present during the holidays because I was like thinking already about like what I have to get going in January, like how do I make sure I continue improving, like where can I like optimize where I didn't do well in the previous year. And it stole so much of my present moments.
Mm-hmm. I think December for a lot of us turns into almost like a rewind of the year, and we basically just assess,
like Judgment Day.
Literally Judgment Day.
Yeah.
It's like all the mistakes we've made or all the things we didn't do, and that just all kind of crumbles on top of us sometimes at the end of the year. It's kind of like all the things that have been collecting end up just all coming down an avalanche of thoughts of what we believe we did wrong or what we wish we did differently. And so, I love that you spoke to that. But before we started recording, I was naming that I think my thing in December previously to doing this work and healing was, I think it was more, I felt a lot of collapse. It was kind of like the one time in the year where everybody was kind of slowing down, where I could finally give myself a chance to be off, even though there was a lot of like family things going on and a lot of different events and parties. But I do feel like it was kind of what I was always waiting for, so I could finally do like a little bit of rest without feeling guilty because everyone was resting. So I think that's what it used to be for me, more than feeling the pressure of other thing. It was more like, oh my God, I can finally do nothing for a couple of days.
Right, but our two contrastive experiences are symptoms of the same thing, which is all the pressure we put on ourselves all year, because I didn't have that experience. I was more like doing more because I felt like whatever I hadn't already done, I was like using the last 4 weeks of the year to catch up. I was sort of not resting when everyone else was, because I was like, ooh, this is like the time that everyone's sleeping and I can like get ahead for the new year. And it was so neurotic. I remember finally journaling, I think this was 2 Decembers ago, really feeling sad for myself that I couldn't just enjoy being in the living room, having family time without thinking about what I need to do January 1st. Like I was so ahead of myself and I couldn't be present. And so what I call this is like New Year panic, which is the same as end of year panic, where you feel like you're running out of time. And it really just goes to show this huge, massive collective illusion that is the calendar year. Because now I know it's fucking fine if I start doing it in January, February, March. It doesn't actually matter when I start doing it. But I thought that there was this higher value and importance in completing it at the end of the year, like as if that really meant something about me. Like I finished this in 2024 or whatever. And it made me really get curious the following years that I started thinking about, like, why can't I enjoy myself around the holidays? Like, why can't I relax? I started thinking, like, what does it mean for me to take longer than a calendar year to make all these goals happen? Because that's the thing. At the top of the year, you set an arbitrary goal. Maybe it's a financial goal or who knows, a friendship goal. What doesn't matter what it is. But you set this huge expectation on yourself to reach this goal. And then you judge yourself, Judgment Day in December, about whether you got close enough to that goal, whether you've done well enough. You might give yourself a permission slip to give yourself a pat on the back if you got close to it. But what happens to you internally if you didn't get close to it? Like what if your goal was to make like $500,000 one year and you made like 200?
Mm-hmm.
Like what happens to you? Like how do you treat yourself? And the crazy thing for me was that I was actually pretty close to whatever goals I made.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would have this like new expectation upon myself, which is that, but I should have surpassed it.
Yeah.
And how will I make sure I surpass it in the next year? And so it was this constant, like, I only judge myself based on how well I exceed my own goals,
Yeah.
not how well I'm being in my life towards myself or like my friends, like how in alignment with my values I'm living. I was just constantly living in this paradigm of needing to like be better than before. And so, yeah, I mean, December for me was filled with so much New Year panic. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was terrified I wouldn't make up to my own, like live up to my own expectations of what I felt like I had to live up to in the new year. And so I guess I wanted to really normalize that, but also give you an opportunity to really think about what am I making that mean if I
Mm-hmm.
don't meet that goal by the end of the year? And why am I putting such a colossal mountain of expectations on myself for 2025?
And also, is it even helping?
Yeah. Like what do these expectations allow you to be more of? Like
Mm.
what happens if you meet all of your New Year's resolutions? I'm sure if you're listening to this at this point in December, you have an idea of what your resolutions are, but what I really want you to get curious about is who do I get to be if I resolve these things? Like
Mm-hmm.
if I do resolve all of these things that I want to change in the new year, who do I get to be then? And the work really is, can I be that to myself
Now.
now?
Exactly. That's what I was gonna actually say is, yeah, like what do you believe even getting that or reaching
Mm-hmm.
that goal would allow you to feel? And what are you actually ultimately stopping yourself from feeling by believing you have to wait until you complete this to feel that? Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can totally see. I know a lot of people with health goals, for example, like, okay, January 1st, I'm going
Yeah.
to start whatever. But it's so funny when you actually zoom out of it and you're like, no, that's just Tuesday and yesterday was Monday,
Yeah.
which is also made up.
Totally.
It's just another day that the sun rose following the day where it went down. It really just is that. And I think the pressure that we get, it's really important to get curious about where did you collect that pressure from? And so much of that does come from the people around us, from conditioning. And we get to really decide and let this year be the year that you decide how do you want to approach this time of year. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that you and I both together have certainly talked about this a lot, that for me, I think I like the idea of a new year and for sure like thinking about and reflecting on the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to pick a word of the year for the following year and kind of reflect on that. But it's much more playful for me. The
Yeah.
whole point is to feel better, to feel good, to feel joyful, instead of using this time of year as a means to be harder on ourselves. And so I think that switch for us has made a lot of these quote unquote end of year practices just a lot more fun. And I'm also 100% okay with not doing them. I think it's much more being
Mm-hmm.
heart led than being led by external expectations.
Yeah, and I think your relationship to the new year or the end of the year, however you perceive it, really shows you a lot about yourself because I would say for us now, we don't give a lot of weight and power to the new year.
I mean, same as like, I don't know, like new moons or
Yeah.
any of that stuff. I think it can be helpful and supportive, absolutely. But I also am not a proponent of waiting for the new moon to
Mhm.
do something or only
Mhm.
doing something because of the time or the date or anything like that. I think what supersedes any of the dates or moon cycles or anything is you and
Yeah.
your own energetic signature and the way that you're feeling. And I think that if you feel so inspired to make really big, expansive changes in your life, you can do that on November 1st
Yeah.
or June 2nd. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
end of year.
Well, this reminds me of the day that we were together during the Lionsgate portal, and people were like, "What do you guys think of the Lionsgate portal?" And we were like,
Yeah.
"We think it's a day that you can offer yourself permission to do whatever you want." Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have I don't want to say it doesn't have special powers, like the moon, for example. There is some influence, right?
Absolutely, yes.
But I think the most influential thing is your relationship to yourself. And then those other moon energies, lunar energies, if you will, New Year energy, the collective energy around that, that can be an additionally supportive thing if you want to use that and lean into that. But it's not the thing that makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
And my relationship to the new year or end of the year has become it's become so neutral because I'm not putting this insane expectation of what 2025 is going to be. I'm like, it's going to be more of the same because I'm already living in alignment with my mission and I'm already self-loving towards myself. So I don't think it's going to give me something new. I'm not like using it as that like drug hit of self-acceptance that I'm going to get in January. And so, yeah, it's funny. I don't even really create resolutions anymore.
No, it's funny, like Emmeline did, which is really funny. And then it...
Well, they're so collective in
They
nature.
are.
Like, everyone's like, what's your New Year resolution? And so then you're like, well, I guess I got to have some of those.
Well, it was funny, though, because she said hers, and then one of them, I was like, oh, like, I thought you were going to do that for your resolution. And she's like, well, it's not January 1st yet. And I was like, all right. So she's basically giving herself permission to be okay with these, like, not ideal habits that she like doesn't want to do anymore until the end of the year. So it's just funny to see how early that kind of starts. But yeah, I think what we're really speaking to here is don't give a date the power. Don't give December 31st, January 1st, any date, the date of the new moon, any of those. Don't give that all the power and all the credit for what you're creating. Because a lot of times some people will say, oh, I did this on New Year's and that was why I was able to do XYZ, or I did this on the Lionsgate portal and that's why I was able to manifest XYZ. No, it wasn't the date.
Yeah, it's more like you did it and it was that day.
Exactly, exactly. And I want to give everybody back that credit that you are the one that creates your life and your own reality, your own perceptions. That's all coming from you. And it's not because of a calendar date. And so to take that power back and to reclaim that, and of course, if you want to leverage this time of year, do that, but don't give all the credit and the power to it. That's all coming from you. And you don't need permission to access that and use it.
Yeah, like I think people believe that the new year holds, yeah, definitely a sense of power. Like there's a sense of renewal and like potential and like it's all in the new year. It's like, no, it's all in you.
Yes. And it's all in the right now.
It's all in right now. It just so happens that you decide to access that in the now on January 1st.
Yes.
But you can access that in the now here on December, whatever you're listening to this. Like it doesn't matter what day it is. And I feel like it's so funny. I was just talking to one of my past one-on-one clients this morning about the art she made me. And you know who that is, right? The time is a construct calligraphy. And how it really is such a trip realizing it is a construct. Like that's a sentence in your brain until you've integrated it where you're like, oh yeah, like I intellectually understand it's a construct. But when you like genuinely embody that the date is so irrelevant and arbitrary, that's a very different experience because then you don't get weird, strange behaviors around the end of the year, around the new year. And so this is not to cause any self-judgment, but it's really to evoke a sense of self-study, inquiry,
reflection,
compassionate inquiry into like, why am I so quote unquote crazy around the new year? Like, what is it that I'm starting to make that mean? And like, how is my self-judgment or self-talk changing around this time? Because I needed to actually experience that intensity around the end of the year / new year to really get underneath what was bubbling, which was really just a lot of self-criticism about what I felt like what I should have done previously, what I should do next year. And it was the work around all of those shoulds and all of those critical self-beliefs that I was finally able to see time as neutral. But I couldn't do that until I was like, wait, why don't you think it's neutral?
100%. This actually reminds me a lot of like age.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. A lot of people think by the time I'm 30, I should be doing this. By the time I'm 40, I should be doing that. And it does just reflect what your relationship is to yourself.
Yes.
And essentially like what internal narratives and stories are driving the boat.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because you eventually, hopefully, you get to a certain age where you stop giving an F about what the age you are. Yeah. Like you don't let the number give you a certain permission slip or like conditional reason to do XYZ. Like maybe when you were a child, you were like, oh, when I'm 18, I'll do this. And so then you just get stuck in the pattern of like, when I'm this, I'll do that. But you just ignore it. And I know like a lot of people, it's so funny. Like by the time people reach their 30s and 40s, they don't even think about what age they are anymore. I've literally asked people how old they are and they're like, how old am I? Like they don't even think of it. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, I just turned 37 or something like that. And I'm like, how did you forget? Because they don't put
You stop counting.
You stop counting. You stop making it mean anything. So if it doesn't mean anything, why would you count it? Like why would you pay attention to it? And that's how I feel about the year. I'm not really paying attention to even what day or month it is, only for like logistical purposes. Like I need to know what day it is today for me to show up here.
Yes. But
I have no self-ascribed value or importance with respect to it. It's just to serve me in a very practical sense. It gives me no permission slips, no value. Like you said, it doesn't have any power. I give it that.
Exactly. And it reminds me of this kind of imaginary, illusory expiration date that people think that they have, especially when it comes to age or at the end of the year, that things don't expire at the end of the year.
No.
Like this is a fake expiration date. Instead of believing that there is a timeline that you have to stick to or stick within, you're the one who thinks it. You're the one who can also remove it. Like you're your own police officer, lawmaker, government.
Yeah.
And you get to decide what you want to live by. And I think at the end of the day, what I would want people to really hear and walk away from with this episode is that whatever emotion or feeling or vibration you get from the new year, let it be your practice to see in how many ways you can actually infuse that through your life on any given day of the year. So whatever, maybe you do feel some surge of energy or excitement just because that is what we've been kind of conditioned to be like, and that's okay. But let it be a practice of, oh, like how can I infuse this February, March, April, in any given moment, even just like right now, even sitting in your car as you're listening to this, how can you embody that sense of excitement and awe and really appreciating this moment instead of waiting to do that at any other time? So I think that gets to be a practice for people.
Absolutely. And I feel like birthdays are such an incredible form of proof that you can create that any day of the year, because
so true.
You arbitrarily decide to create that on your birthday.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier on the birthday, just like it is with Christmas, because you're conditioned to do that. Like if I didn't know when my birthday was, I wouldn't wake up on March 23rd and be like, wow, it's such a great day and I love myself and I'm so happy, right? I'm doing that because people have kind of prepared and conditioned me to do that over the years. But that's a regular day for most people on earth. Like you wake up and they're just like, yep, it's Tuesday.
Yeah,
but for
23rd.
you, it like has a lot of meaning. And so whatever that meaning is that you ascribe to, like birthday, Christmas, whatever, just notice that it's you doing that, not the day.
Also, the birthday is such a good example because how many times do you actually celebrate your birthday not on that day? Because if your birthday's on a Wednesday, you end up doing your birthday party on like the Saturday. And it's not even the same day.
It's not even the same day.
And everyone's singing you happy birthday, but it's not your actual birthday.
It's not your birthday.
But you're making it that day because you're deciding to celebrate it that day.
Yeah, and I think it's just like a weird cultural phenomenon that we can't be happy every single day.
Totally.
I'm not trying to say that you should be happy every day. Like, obviously, you know, allow the full spectrum of human emotions. But if someone's really happy, people are like, oh, like, why are you so happy today? Like, is it your birthday? like it's like, no, just Wednesday. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think this is actually leading to a really cool, like, bigger conversation around, like, what you allow yourself to feel on any given day. And, like, why do you create little barriers? It's like, oh, I only get to feel like this during Christmas.
Yes.
And, oh, my God, this is so funny. I won't mention her name, but my past client who just graduated, so many amazing things happened. But one of the things we actually talked about was how she always put the month of October on a pedestal. Yeah, like it's so funny because she's probably listening to this and laughing because now she's just like, oh, I did that. But October for her was usually the month where she experienced what she could identify within herself as like the most like warmth and like happiness and like, ooh, it's cozy, like it's fall, like now I get to do XYZ. And interestingly, it always used to correspond with her highest income month of the year.
Oh, interesting.
But what she recognized through the work we did together was that's because she was generating so much positive energy.
Yes.
It wasn't October being like, this is the year you make the most money.
Right.
She was creating the most energy through her body, which was then translating into actions and behaviors and more income producing habits, right? But for the longest time, she was like, oh my God, October's coming. And then we were working together when the clock turned into October 1st. And she was like waiting for this like thing to happen in her body. And she was like, Sam, it's October 1st. And I feel the same. And she kind of like waited for like a few more days for like the October vibes to like, yeah, she's like, it's coming. And then she like had this like huge breakthrough moment like October 6th and was like, it's me. I create October. Like my experience of October is created through me. And that just like led to like a stream of breakthroughs where she could see in all these other areas that it was the same thing. But that's actually what this conversation is about, that you have that power.
It's not, October doesn't have power.
No.
You gave it that.
It's a random assortment of 30 days that we named October.
The credit when it should be.
It's you.
It should be you. That's kind of like saying, like if I'm a chef and I go into a kitchen at a restaurant and I cook the best meal and I'm like, it was the kitchen.
That's perfect.
The kitchen made this amazing meal. It's like, no, you did. Or to give it the credit to the spatula or like to that specific pan. It's like, no, you're the one who knew how to time that. You were the one who knew when to like flip it, what mixture of whatever sauces you put into that.
No, but imagine if a chef walked into a kitchen and then was like, it's because it was January 1st.
Exactly.
We'd be like, no, my guy.
Yeah,
it was definitely not because of January 1st. Like, you definitely put the effort.
Yes.
And so I think, like, whether it's like the full moon, the new year, birthday, Lionsgate, 222, like, even us, I remember we released one of our episodes. It was like a significant date to us. Like, we just randomly decided that it was.
I think it was Feb 22nd. It was 222.
Of 2 years ago.
Yes.
Right, 2 years ago. But we knew full well that was arbitrary.
It was just a playful thing.
It was playful. Exactly.
Yes.
It was playful. We were like, ooh, like, if we could pick a date, let's pick 222.
Yes.
Not because we think it gives us special powers, but because it's fun.
It's just fun. And we're not giving it the power.
No.
We're just giving it a playful thing that we get to, we're using it instead of it using us. You know what I mean?
Yes, we're using it. So this is really an opportunity for you to think about, how can I use the new year to my advantage rather than it meaning something about you and imprisoning you into these old thought patterns of what you should be doing, what you haven't done. Use this on purpose to create the energy you want to embody, not necessarily in the new year, but starting right now.
And I think the best reframe from this is, instead of thinking about it as new year, think of it as new moment. You essentially get an opportunity to have that new year feeling in every single moment. You get a new moment over and over again. And if we can stay here and be with that new moment, that's going to be so much stronger and more powerful than any new year ever could be, because you're actually accessing the fullness of the power that you have to create whatever you want to feel and be at any moment.
This actually reminds me of the retreat, because there were so many funny moments where we talked about how we've been born like 5 different times over the weekend, because we came out of the ceremony and everyone was like, what a rebirth. I'm a different person now. And then they would go into like the Temescal, and then they come out and be like, oh my God, rebirth. And it's like, you died like 6 times today. But that's the thing. You literally, quote unquote, die to each moment. But are you paying attention to that? And like, what are you allowing yourself to wake up to in each moment? And I remember I had this really trippy conversation with a few of the girls after we came out of the cacao ceremony, because in that ceremony, you obviously close your eyes down, it gets really dark. And then when you come back, you feel different, whether that's better, whether that's like positive or negative to you, but you feel different. And so there's this sense of newness. And then I remember I said to them, yeah, but it's crazy. It gets dark every time you blink your eyes. It's like you die every time you blink your eyes. Like, you're reborn every time you blink, which sounded so trippy, but we were like in the context to really absorb that in the moment. And we were like, oh my God, you're born with every blink. We were like, you're literally new in every moment. And I think we just need that reminder, because we only allow ourselves to renew on our birthday, on the new year, on the new moon. It's like, give yourself the opportunity to be reborn with this next breath.
I mean, imagine if like our cells waited for a certain day to like renew themselves, or like our skin, like
Yeah.
it doesn't go by that time.
That's actually a really perfect example, Gina, because yeah, we never stop renewing on a cellular level.
Never.
Like it's always,
It's not waiting for any specific date. It just
No.
renews when it's time.
which is all the time in
All
the now.
time. Exactly.
Which is which is all the time in the now.
Which is all the time. Oh, I love this conversation.
Me too.
I feel like I mean, I certainly wish we had this like a long time ago. I feel like it
Yeah.
just really repositions the reality
Yeah.
of where the power really lies, and where you can actually have the most, honestly, the biggest opportunity to actually create. And it is right now. It's not in the future or thinking about the past. And I hope that everyone walks away from listening to this and remembers that, yeah, like I get to basically have a New Year's party every moment. We do this thing actually we learned from Abraham, which we've talked about a couple times, like segment intending. And it's like in every different kind of section or segment of your day. Like before we came in here, there's like this internal intention that I'm setting for myself of, okay, this is this moment, we're recording. After this is over, we're going to have another segment where we eat and we get to like chat, and then we're going to have another segment, and to really kind of take that time to be aware of the moment that you're in, and to really embody the version of you that you really want to be, the frequency that you want to be. Because the thing that I keep remembering within myself, and that my clients and I have been talking so much about, is that we have to be an embodiment of whatever it is that we're trying to attract.
Yes.
And so if you are looking for clarity and for peace, for calm, for abundance, whatever those things are, the opportunity to be an embodiment of that is right now. Not when you get the money or when you hit this goal or any of those external things, but you have that power here and now. And when you get that taste of that, which sounds like such a drug, but truly when you actually experience that, which is what all of our ladies did in the retreat, it changes everything. And so give yourself that gift this holiday season. If you're going to gift yourself anything, is to experiment truly with seeing how can you be in an embodiment of the frequency that you want to be in and want to continue to create, and do that in the now. And that gets to be your New Year's Eve celebration from moment to moment, every time you blink.
Every time you blink. Well, the funniest plot twist of all of this is that the only time you can do it is the now.
Exactly.
It feels like we're trying to say something so profound, and like in a way, like it can be a profound mindset shift, but there is no other moment for you to embody that. It's the illusion that you can embody it in the future, but you're just telling yourself a thought
Exactly.
to think now and delaying what you want to embody really now in the future. It's like whatever you're doing to not embody it now is just a thing you use against yourself. Like it's not helping you create what you want to create. It's not helping you attract what you want to attract. It's not helping you do anything except for continue to feed the story that you're not good enough for whatever you deserve and want now. And so, yeah, we're telling you to embody it now, but that's the only time you can.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all you got. You only
all
have
you
the now
got.
moment. We don't have a January 1st yet.
No.
Right now, it's crazy to me, but a January 1st, 2025 is just a thought I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The world could end before then. Who knows? An asteroid could hit the planet.
We have no idea.
We have no idea. You only have now.
Well, let's celebrate this moment. 3, 2, 1. Happy
New
Happy new moment.
Happy New Moment.
I want to start making those like party favors that just say happy new moment. That's going to be our thing.
It literally is a happy new moment.
It is.
If you let it be.
It's always available to you
Yeah.
if you want to pick it up. It's literally like the New Year's Eve celebrations and the decorations. They're all available if you want them.
Yeah. I always found the New Year countdown so funny because we can count down at any time and like decide to jump up and down when we get to 1. Like if I started right now and was like 10, 9, 8. Like if I go all the way to 1, we could just be like, yay! And that's just what we decide to do collectively around the world. Also, we don't even do that at the same time, given the time
That's
zone.
the funniest part.
Yeah, I like watch all the different New Year's Eve parties around the world. There's like the New York one, and like the LA one, like the Australia one. Like we're not even doing it at the same exact moment.
And that's so illustrative of the truth that you don't have to do it at the same
I
moment.
know.
You can do it whenever you want. So you
it's
don't have to
so
wait
funny.
until when everybody else is doing it. But also, obviously, if you want to have fun on New Year's, go for it.
Yes, let it be playful. Like throw
yeah.
a New Year's party to throw a New Year's party, but not because you think that after the New Year's party you become like a new version of yourself.
You're
That's available to you right now.
Yeah, prone to a lot of disappointment if that's the belief, which is what often happens for a lot of people. So
I know.
the kind of fall off of, I don't know. I think that the first, week of January tends to be pretty big letdown for a lot of people.
Yeah, because they think it's really going to do something. They're like, come on, January 2025, like, give me power. It's like, it's just a gloomy day in the winter.
You're looking in the wrong spot.
You're looking in the wrong place. Okay, well, I love this conversation.
Me too.
I love the way that the conversation evolved, and yeah, hopefully gave you all an opportunity to think about what expectations you place on yourself with respect to not only the new year, but just any date in your life. Like, for example, with the birthdays, like, is that a celebratory time where you think about everything you have gone through, or is it Judgment Day? Like, oh my God, I'm 30 whatever years old now and I'm so behind. Like, these are all mirrors into your relationship to self. And I feel like every conversation we've had recently has been about that, but that's truly the spiraling higher journey. So
it's the core of every lesson.
That's what we want you to realize and learn by listening to this podcast. And so we hope you have a very safe and warm holiday season. After this episode, we're actually going to release one on holiday triggers. So stay tuned for that. And we will see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this honest conversation. We hope it brought you peace, clarity, and a little bit further along your spiritual journey.
If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to us if you left us a 5-star rating and a review so we can bring you more conscious conversations, spiritual topics, and guests.
And we lovingly invite you to join our free Spiraling Higher community by clicking the link in the show notes to continue this healing dialogue and share with us how this episode impacted you.
Come on in, introduce yourself, and meet your conscious besties in a safe space for healing conversations between us and other like-minded people on their healing journey.
Here's to Spiraling Higher.